Hey guys, and welcome back to Dan's Pro Shop. Today we are on location at the shop away from the home shop. If you guys have followed me for any amount of time, you know that in another life I am a heavy diesel mechanic, and here we are at the truck shop. This is another big part of the life that I haven't really involved you guys in, but today we are doing a little bit of a side project. We are installing a roll-up tonneau cover on my mother-in-law's pickup truck. So it's just nice to be inside on this crappy, rainy December day here in the Keystone State. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Vivian's a little looky-poo here. See? Not lying to you. Told you I was a truck mechanic. This just happens to be where we're working today. There she is. This is the Backflip Revolver X4 from Back Industries. You could tell it's the exact same one that I have on my pickup, and it's just absolutely freaking awesome. In case you guys don't know how these things work, it is like a slatted aluminum thing covered with marine grade vinyl, and it literally rolls up like a sleeping bag up behind the rear window. So you can still fit tall stuff in there, like you can put a dirt bike in there up against the back of the bed, and it's sturdy, like you can put stuff on top of it. I wouldn't stand on it, but you can put some significant weight on top when it's closed because it's aluminum. And it's weather tight and lockable. With these newer trucks, with the locking tailgate, as long as your tailgate's locked, the bed is locked. Super nice. Let's get into this and see what's in the kit. So guys, there's not much to this install here. We have two side rails that go on top of the bed rails that really are the mechanics behind this and lock everything together. Don't worry, I'll show you all this once we get it unboxed and on the table. I don't feel like rolling around in a wet bed. Can you blame me? So guys, these things are the side rails that I was telling you about. They have these little locking latch things that, don't worry, I'll show you how they work. But they come factory labeled which side is which, so you can't screw it up. They sit right on top of the factory rails here, and then they come with all the mounting hardware you need to clamp this thing underneath the rail of the pickup truck. So luckily for me, since I've done this before on my own truck, I already know how it works. So we can take these instructions and promptly file them with the real important stuff, because we ain't gonna need that. And here we just have some accompanying hardware, some gaskets, a couple tie-down straps. That's what's gonna hold this thing up in its like rolled up sleeping bag position behind the back window there. And the actual aluminum clamps that hold everything down to the bed rail, along with some knobs and miscellaneous hardware, whatever. But either way, first step is to put the rails on the side of the bed. You want to put them on there, but don't clamp them down yet. You want to leave them a little bit loose just in case you got to move things. So let's do it. Now, like I mentioned, guys, pay attention to the sticker. It tells you where it goes. This flat part will go up towards the front of the cab here, because this is where the thing actually mounts to. On the back side is where this like action latch, if you will, goes. So we just set that on the side of the bed and get to clamping. yeah, the use of an electric ratchet can greatly help this process. Now let's do the exact same thing on the driver's side. Now, just so you guys can get a better look at what I'm actually doing underneath there, these are the clamps that hold this thing onto the bed rail. You see how they have these little ridges? Those index with ridges on the bottom of the bed rail. So you simply just take this guy, clamp it down, and it holds everything in place real nice and easy. Cool. Now both rails are installed, because you know that was super difficult. I'll show you how that thing works. So you guys see this fancy lever right here. You see this piece of aluminum that folds down with it? Whenever the top is closed, it pushes this thing down. This comes out and indexes with tabs on the sides of the cover and locks everything, the entire length of the bed. So nobody can come up here with like a pry bar or something. Well, let's be honest. If they want in, they're getting in. But this helps keep honest people honest. And it's nice. Whenever you're going down the highway, you don't get that flutter like you would with like a vinyl or a leather one. This is a solid, flexible tonneau cover. This thing's absolutely awesome, and I think it's the best option out there. But now that we have the rails installed, let's just put the top on this next part. So in this small hardware kit that came in the big hardware kit, this is all the stuff that you're going to need to fix the actual part, the roll part, onto the side rails. It comes with a couple, these look to be 5/16 bolts, and a couple like thumb screw knob things. That's cool. We don't need a tool to do this, so you can do this manually with or without tools. So you need to take this thing off in that event, whatever. It's easy. You crawl under there and take them off. So these things index into the top part. I'll show you. Go ahead and get this thing unwrapped so whenever we get it up there, it'll be significantly easier to work with. Cool. Now we have this thing loose, unwrapped, ready to go. We can throw it up on the rails and start unrolling it. Now, bear in mind, guys, this thing is aluminum, but it's not exactly light. So make sure you eat your Wheaties before you do this. And especially, this is a 6.5 foot bed. You have an 8 foot bed. It's just that much more heavy. Oh, well, hey, I almost forgot something. Maybe we should have read the instructions out, but luckily, I remembered. There is weather stripping that comes along with this. And you need to seal the top of the rail underneath the back window. So this thing has a good weather-tight seal to the bed or the bed line or whatever you have. But we need to install this thing before we clamp this down. So guys, first thing I'm going to do, take yourself a little isopropyl alcohol. Help the medicine go down. Make sure that your sticky surface is good and prepped and ready to receive stick. Because this is like so many other things, you get one shot at it. So make sure that's good and clean and dry. Now we can install the thicker weather gasket that's supplied in the kit right along the top here. Nice. Now that this thing is on here good and stuck, now we can put the top on so it indexes with this thing for a good weather tight seal. It's getting a little toasty in here. Oh, I know that's like a fancy people problem, working in December and you're actually sweating. So we'll go ahead. Set this guy up in your rails. Start unfolding her. Yeah. Get everything good and snugged up as close as we can just for starters here. Roll it down so we can line up the rear end. Nice. Now that we have everything in the track and it's latched in at the back, we got to crawl our big old dad bod up in there and attach this hardware from underneath. I'll do my best to light this up so you guys can see what I'm doing. Throw some light in there. Throw all of our hardware in a bag. Throw that in there. Whew. Now I just got to get myself in there. Now you guys can see here what we're going for is there are tracks underneath here that these bolts need to slide into. And those bolts will then come out through these holes and we can fasten everything together. I had to go back up top here for a minute. Let's just fold this back part here so we can slide our hardware into place. Do the same thing on the other side. Alrighty, now that we have everything indexed, squared up where we want to go, we're going to install a rubber washer, a flat washer, and then this fancy thumb screw that's supplied in the kit. So you want to get these things about as tight as you can by hand. That should be more than enough. All right, guys. Now that that's done, you don't necessarily need to do it this way. This is just the way that I choose to. You could probably get away with rolling this thing up and stand up in the bed of the truck and just like reach underneath and do that hardware. But I like to have this thing rolled out, laid in the track, so I know everything is indexed correctly, and I can line up on the tailgate just the way that I want it to. Because on those side rails, there are slots in that track, so you can kind of kink this thing left or right a little bit. So it gives you some wiggle room to make it as square as possible. So you don't have to do this. I just choose to. Yes, it's a little more difficult, but at least I know that it's done right the first time. Well, guys, that about wraps up the install here. And I don't know about you, but look how awesome and clean that is. It's a nice like satin flat black. And because this is the Revolver X4, meaning it's the fourth rendition of this thing, the underneath is now black anodized aluminum versus the shiny aluminum on the X2, which is on my truck. See, this guy here is the X2. It has the shiny aluminum underneath it and the ribs or whatever you'd like to call the strapping that holds everything kind of together and uniform and like in time underneath is just a glued on piece of felt. They fixed that with the X4 and put like an attached injection molded rubbery plastic stuff underneath. I'll show you better. I know it's hard to see because everything's black. So guys, this is what I'm talking about on the X4. You see underneath here, there's this like, if I had to guess, it's probably like flexible PVC or something. But this took the place of that glued on felt stuff that's on the X2. And this is a significant upgrade. It's just so much better. You know, it'll hold up better. It looks better, everything. And in case you guys are wondering, this latching mechanism here, we already have a big, nice Buna rubber, like a weather strip here that butts up against the tailgate whenever it's closed. But this is the latching mechanism that holds this thing closed and locks it, if you will. There's this cable here, one here and one on the other side. It doesn't matter which one you pull because they're attached the entire length. So you open the tailgate, pull this cable, it unlatches the entire thing. And then you see how this indexes with this little lever here that we talked about earlier. Once that's clipped in, this whole thing is locked the entire way down. So you can't get this open unless you open the tailgate and flip the back of the cover up. Here's a little bit better view of how this latching system works. So you have the cable hanging down, same thing on the other side. You simply pull this cable and it unlatches both of these white tabs here. Once this rolls up, it releases both of these tabs on either side and allows this thing to roll completely up out of the way. Man, would you guys look how slick this thing is? Like, it's nice, sleek. open the tailgate, unlatch, roll all the way up. And the cool thing is, these tabs that we put underneath here for the side rails, the very front ones have hooks on them. These beauty little strap things here, they go up and attach into the front, and they're fully adjustable. So that way, this thing stays rolled up whenever you have it up here. Tighten that up to wherever you need it, and you're set. Good to go down the road. And rolling it up couldn't be any easier. You simply undo the straps on both sides, let this thing pretty much unroll itself. Whenever you get to the end, just clip it in. That's it. She's locked, secure, and watertight. So here's a little bit better look here. This is how it overlaps on the top of the tailgate. And there is a decent amount of overlap here too, I'll show you. Look at that. We've got about an inch or so that the tailgate actually goes in and presses up against this weather strip here. So it's good and sealed against the tailgate. And we have this nice weather stripping that goes along the whole side. Everything is super flat. Like, look at that. Look how nice and flat that is. It barely sticks up a 1/4 inch. And then this is what we're looking at up at the cab here. Now, this will take a minute to settle down because it's been rolled up in the box. But you sit this thing out in the sun for a day or two, this will all flatten out real nice. And these are the clips I was talking about that those straps index into. But man, I can't tell you how nice these things are. Well, guys, that about wraps up the install here in today's little side project. So if you guys are interested in grabbing one of these things, please check out the link in the description. And honestly, now that I've installed one of these X4s, I'm really thinking about upgrading the X2 that's on my truck. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, that thing has been on there. That's the second truck that thing has been on, and I've had it for 7 years. Still holding up great, still works perfect just the way that it should. I just really like the upgrades that they have done with the X4. Like, there are different tabs on the corners here for better protection. The clips are different. Like, it used to be a buckle, now it's like a toggle thing. The black underneath, the rubber and the ties and everything, this X4 is done excellently. I'm curious, like honestly curious, how they're going to improve on this one for the next iteration. But honestly, guys, I hope you enjoyed this little install / tutorial, and we'll see you next time.